If the variable police user, for example, is yes, and that's taken from the client side, then you would show the accept reject buttons.
My name's Joe Winnett. We appreciate you tuning in to the KarenWare.com. That's the Karen's free software for Windows channel. Karen Kenworthy. This is Karen Kenworthy. I met her. She was my customer because she called saying, hey, could you hook me up with the T1 line at my house? And I said, hey, yeah, I can do that. And so got to hook up this T1 line to her office in her house, which she could do secure web transactions and feel secure that the credit cards were all guarded and all that sort of stuff. And that was very neat. Wonderful woman. Very, very probably one, if not the most intelligent person I've ever met. She's one of the top 5. And, was blessed to have known her. She died in 2011. The family needed some help running the website, and since I've started to take over writing the software and working on the software, and I'm trying to do as much as I can. And I'm trying to do more. That's what I'm saying, Doctor. All right. I'd like to report the broadcasting is going well. We're sending 10,000 kilobits per second. Who would have thunk it was possible? Just a few years ago, it would have been unthinkable, unworkable, or just unaffordable. All right, we're going to get back to it. Let's run this application, see if it works. I'll tell you a little bit about what it does once it's doing. Nice. Whoa. What did I run into? Okay, what that is doing, it is enumerated through all of the network adapters on this PC to come up with every second it is updating with how many bytes were sent and how many bytes were received. What I want down in the lower corner down here that you can't see, in that system tray, I want to have a little KarenWare thing, Karen's power tool called the network tray, that will have a little bar. It just goes up and down. Says a few things, lets you know the data is rolling. The first step was to collect this information. That's what I'm doing. That's what that is demonstrating. A step we can take right now is maybe come up with a algorithm that will come up with the kilobits per second, the megabits per second, the bits per second. Maybe we'll just force people to always have to look at it in bits per second. Okay. The general system is that once a second, this dispatch timer is ticked. Comes down, it goes through all the network interfaces. And if the network interface is in the list, it goes ahead and updates. If we've added a new network interface, it will go ahead and add it. It does not correctly deal with the situation of when an interface disappears. That's all right. That's all right. This is just demonstration. It's going to be all right. So we're going to have to keep track of how many bytes we've sent over time. Within a certain window. These are fun. A way to do it would be we could keep the last 60 measurements, roll the last measurement off the back, and keep a list of 60 and average the whole thing. A good strategy would be for me to do it the way that I know how to do it, the inefficient way, and for somebody to correct me, Doctor. Those are longs. Those are longs. Oh, this is my own frickin' view. Network interfaces. It's these bytes sent and received. What we're going to do is we're going to add a function. Just going to put it right here on the top. Each one of you is going to have some samples. You're going to have some samples. Can't. Can you do that? I don't think you can do that. Pretty sure that's not how that works. Just gonna keep 60 samples. We're gonna assume that's a minute. Nice. We're gonna need a... Yeah, samples needs to be all zeros. There's probably a way to do that. To just tell that that's all zeros. There's a way to initialize you, but... Oh, I'm not going to type in 60 zeros. No, I'm not. Oh, that's right. This is a serious channel. I said on my A Big Hairy Spider channel, I was going to keep this serious. What you don't know, what you can't see, what you just couldn't have anticipated, was that there's a potato chip up there. That's right, doctors. Dun, dun, dun. Let me take a picture. Not a picture of me. That's classy right there. That's making it work. All right, back to work. Speaking of working, let's get back to the work. Oh, that's right. I went to, anyway, there's a whole bunch of objects. I create some objects of class network interface view. They support the interface iNotify property changed, which tells the user interface that any of these numbers have changed, which will happen once a second. Once a second, these numbers get updated. So when this object is instantiated, when an object is declared, you say what the object's members will do and what the program is that runs them, the methods. But when you create the object that you're going to use at runtime, that's called instantiation. So when the object is instantiated, I want my samples to all become zeros. Nice! This is where people can, looky there, it knows what I'm talking about. That's artificial intelligence for you. Oh, what are you going to do now? It's going to tell me that there's an easier way to do this. It's really, I've been impressed with Visual Studio. It's very helpful. I think there's probably a way to say samples. There's some way to run a function over every member instead of, well, that's all right. Or just set it empty. Ah. Okay, wait a minute. Let's find out what that does. I'm glad you were here. We're learning something. You don't need it. All right. The selfish reason of my own personal channel was that me mixing up all the topics on my personal channel and trying to have it all convenient for me to just dump into one place was causing people to jump out of the channel. Because if you subscribed thinking you're going to find a whole bunch of, you're going to see a whole bunch of cute little videos of whatever, the short thing that got you to the channel, and then all of a sudden you see this, you're like, ugh. So I figure, you know, if I'm going to be serious, spelled correctly, then I should separate out the channels and make it possible for people to consume the content. Oh, that's right. We're checking to see. We're going to check right now. We're going to put a breakpoint right here. Breakpoint. Break. Bam. Okay, run the program. They might be zeros to begin with. I don't want to depend on that. She's getting into my head. Stop her. Samples. Bam. They're all zeros anyway. But you can't depend on that. We're not going to depend on that. We're not going to depend on any of this. Oh, no, what we'll do is we'll mess it up, Doctor. We will see if we can depend on it. Where's random? Give me a random. How do I do this? We want to give me a random, man. Don't make me look it up. Nice. I thought it was math random. Duh. That's a pseudo-random number generator. Nice. Don't you have a static member that says gimme one? No. Okay, samples are now a whole bunch of random values. And then what I'm going to do is up here at the top, I'm going to, it's holding right here. See, oh, looky there. See, you were here and I learned something new. Watch this. See that little green thing? Does that mean run that? Nice. Bam. Did it run through there? Not yet. Okay, we're gonna run it to here. Bam! Nice! Bam. Nope. That initializes. There is no constructor of a long. Okay, so we've solved that. I know there's got to be a lambda function. There's got to be a way to do that. Okay, we're gonna pinch it off though. Because I'm all about the output. We're not here to learn. We learned how to do random numbers. Is she singing about clarified butter? Maybe they're always initialized. I can't imagine that's the case. But I'm not going to depend on that. Like I said, we ain't got time to depend on that. How do you know how many samples are in there? Oh, Joe. How do you know how many samples are in there? No, we're going to do it. We're going to use a list. Yeah. Nope. See, the most efficient thing to do, I shouldn't use the list. I should just woulda, coulda, shoulda. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take straight up samples. Okay. Ah! pressed a button that I have a keyboard that you can pair it up to up to 3 Bluetooth devices, and the unfortunate design problem here at Logitech. Right there are the number keyboards, the numbers. Well, they're right above page up, home, insert, near backspace. If you accidentally hit one, you lose track, you lose touch up with everything. So it's a trade-off. We appreciate what you're doing out there, Logitech, though. Nice. Yeah, I could spend 20 more minutes working on those. Well, yeah. I like the leading I. I really do. You're not. That's the old days. That's the old days. That's the way it used to be. Man, there's a way for me to type that in there as being a zeros. Oh man. See, it inferred that what I was going to do. That's really cool. Okay. So we're going to go back down to the constructor. The constructor is a function that is called whenever an object is instantiated. Like when someone says new network interface view, when someone says means at some point in a program, when the programmer has typed in new network interface view, the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to allocate space for this new object and call this function, this member function called a constructor, which has the exact same name as the object and no return type. Now, in my case, I instantiate it and it's initialized with a network interface object, which is a standard Windows thing, a standard Windows class that provides configuration and statistical information for a network interface, which is the information that I needed, such as how many bytes have been sent and received on every network interface so far. I'm going to keep track of that once a second, just here to test it, in order to come up with the kilobits per second, and that'll be fun. What I'm going to display down in the system tray will be a percentage of whatever maximum kilobit per second is. How we're going to determine that, I don't know. Just need you to calm down. Just need you to calm down. Now, see, on my own channel, I might have said something like calm the, but I'm not doing that here because this is a serious channel. We're going to need you to hit like and subscribe, send money, wake up your kids, grandkids, tell them to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, samples linked. You are gone, doctor. Now, see, you could create a class to keep track of those samples. We'll do that later. That'll be the upgrade. Where were we? Just gonna go ahead and do that twice. 'Cause it's so nice. Yeah, I gotta look at my hands. See, on my channel, I would have said, shut up. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Let's go down here and see what happens on dispatch timer tick. We do an update. Now, I know that tick is once per second. I'm going to go ahead and just slam this. No, I'm not. I'm going to put in Update isn't update. Damn. See, this is a thinking too far ahead for me. There was a time that I could sit and think so far ahead that I could sit down and type in a whole program, but now that is not the case. So what we're going to do, plus that makes for terrible, terrible video, is we're going to do it quickly and wrongly. It's not wrongly. I don't like depending on... Okay, there's a class here called a network interface. What did I call my own class? Network interface view. It should know nothing about the sampling time because it is not in control of any of the sampling. All it is a representation of some data. But I'm having it take a sample for every update. That's what I'll do. Is I won't have it do any of its averaging, any of its meaning. Put any mathematical mean on this. It'll just, that'll be controlled from the outside. There you go. So every time that the bytes sent and received are updated, then I'm going to have it save a sample. Let's see, received samples. Okay, so obviously that's not going to completely work. So what we're going to do is receive samples is now 0. After we set the 0 one, what that means is, I'm going to go ahead and just stick it all in there. What that means is after that, then go ahead and increment it. However, when it gets to the maximum number of samples, we want to modularize it with the, let's see, receive samples. Is there some bad problem with that? I don't think there is. It's unnecessary. That's an issue because I'm not going to keep track. That implies that there's some sort of meaning to the samples, like I could go back to a certain number of samples. It does. So it basically, I'm keeping this received sample count becomes an index pointer if we modularize it. If I just keep the index where the next one goes in as a ring counter. Again, I'm overloading meanings into names, into symbols that don't matter. That we just need to get it done, doctor. But see, that makes it look... Well, I'll do the other one the other way. Okay, let's see. Sent, samples. What you would do is you would do a sent samples count that, and then if sent samples count is greater than sent samples length, which is 60, greater than or equal to, right, then you reset sent samples count equal to 0. Ah, nice. See, that bugs me to no end. So what I'm going to say, what I'm going to put this is going to be the sent samples next pointer. Index of next sent sample entry. Nice. Index of next received samples entry. It sounds a lot like the end of a Talking Heads song. Really fast. Dun 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 dun. Wow. All right, so we're gonna do it that way. And then when we do an update, that's just gonna go into the index of next received sample. Nice. See what it infers. Index of next sent sample, of course, equals. Yeah, nice. Okay, so we got some samples. Bum, bum, bum. Maybe what we do is we just run it just to see that it works. Sometimes that can be helpful. Okay, it does continue to work. Okay, we need to create a property in order to be able to read this sucker. The data that we're just, okay, so we need a public. You're going to average it every time, Joe? This is a template for everything that's in that list view. So it's building a string it's building a panel out of text blocks that's displaying all of that stuff. So I'm going to add another binding for bytes sent kilobits per second, I guess. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. For all of those to work, it needs to be a public property, which are declared like this. We got some samples. Nice. What's your problem there? Update. You got a problem? Uh-oh. What that does is, if the new value was set, then it goes ahead and tells the user interface to update the user interface. What? Am I missing one of those? Joe. It's no big deal, but I probably should quit comparing myself to when I was 25. Yes. I'm better at many things now at 55 than at 25. I'm much better at being yelled at, humiliated. I don't feel humiliation as much. That's good. Uh, we need you to suggest a change on all those. It's not. Good. Okay, so when there's an update, it's just going to calculate it. This is hard coding that the samples are once per second. We're just going to ignore that. We already talked about it. It's been said. It's been done. It's done. It's done. It's over. It's over. I just thought of an improvement. Is I put the camera over there. Or does that move my head? That did move my head. Wait, where's my head? So that way now I look over there at my face. Oh man, I tell you what, all it takes is like 15 years to work on this stuff, and then you learn how to do it. Nice. Except, bam, bam, bam. Hi. It still looks shifty. That's all right. That's all right. It's okay. I want to generally be looking towards you. Yeah, this is the first time. You know, we'd like to treat you like it's our first time every time. At teddybear.com, teddybear.com. The domain is for sale, teddybear.com. It belongs to the family, the heirs of Karen Ginworthy, or her will, whatever. And it is for sale. If someone could please donate $114,000 so I could buy it, that'd be good. Okay, anyway, when this updates, we're going to set those. The instantaneous will be the difference between the ones and the... The index of the next does not help, because I need to know when it was completely filled up. Oh. Generally, you keep 2 index pointers. Ring buffer. No, don't do that. Just here's what we're going to do. We're going to let it just count up. It's not the... Now I got to change the name. Are you going to do this? Yes, we are. What do I call that? We called that samples count. And then in the constructor, we set samples count to 0. Down here, what we do is we're going to put it in samples count. We're going to go ahead and increment it after. No, we're not. No, we're not. Because if you increment, we're going to use the same count for both of them. This will ensure, no matter what it is, that it cannot be greater than received samples length, because that is the modulus operator, meaning it is the remainder after a division. So if we have 10 samples, if the length is 10 and that samples count is 12, then the modulus answer will be 2. Right, because it's divided evenly by 10, leaving 2. Nice. Anyway, we do this the same way. So we're going to change that to So now we could keep different sample counts if we wanted. Okay, so there's been one sample, let's say. When it goes over the top, it'll be fine. Now we need to do the bits per second. The thing is, so what will happen is when there's only 2 samples in there, the first time through it'll be 0. I will be less than 2. Well, I mean, it's going to be less than 60, the length of the whole buffer. So it's going to be cool. And then I will be less than the 2 samples. But then when it gets to I equal 2, then I will be equal to the number of samples, meaning that the next number, that the number I references is an index 2 in the arrays is invalid. So that would be the time to quit looking. So in other words, this will not be true if there's a small number of samples, and so that would be the time to quit looking. I got another problem. They're not always after each other in time. Oh, I don't want to shift the array. Don't make me shift the array. There are ways to do this. I know. Okay. If the number of samples is less than the total length, then it's no big deal. This is not a problem. If the number of samples is greater than the length of the buffer, then it's come around. The numbers that are there are not the delta numbers. Maybe I just put delta numbers in. That's easier to do. If I'm going to subtract the second number from the first number to find out how many were sent, what the change was, because the numbers only go up, that's all good until it's wrapped around, and that last number is really the oldest number, or the newest number is the next. Anyway, that would have been a cool problem to have. We're not going to have that problem. So these samples are really going to be deltas. Deltas! Except I can't save deltas because you don't have the first measurement. All I need is the last sample. Duh, I've got the last sample. Okay, there will be no sample received, because see right here, bytes received right there is old. No. Okay, received, bytes received. Ah! That's scary. Go back, Dr. Ruby. Okay. If bytes received is greater than 0, then it's this. If bytes received equals 0, then it's 0. Otherwise, it's... I think there's a way to shortcut that. If there were 0 bytes sent, that period doesn't screw it up because it's just a means. That's fine. There's no point. There's no point in it. What did I get? I don't know. See, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do man, dan, dun, dun. Oh, received samples disappeared. Now, see, now my brain's going, go back to saving the 0. On the first sample, there were no delta bytes sent. Ah! Well, you'll find out. Those samples are lost. You'll probably find out. Nice. I need to see some output fast. The bits received per second are the bytes received divided by the sample count that we actually went through. The I will be left over at the highest count it went to. That gives us the mean. Just to get a closer number, let's go ahead and multiply that times bits. Let's just go with the 8 bits per byte theory. Samples count cannot be 0. We can't have it divided by 0, but we're just gonna be all right with that. Hey, what's going on with you? Your longs. Should be able to just go ahead and trim that. We'll just do that. We'll see how that works. Nice. I'm glad I recorded this. Okay. In theory, that will come up with numbers. Let's just see if it crashes. Let's see that it does not crash. Nice. You're not crashing. We like what you're doing out there. Okay. Now we're going to do something with the data. A lot of different text block going on here. Cent per second. They're stuck together. 567K, 573K. Why is that one going over? Oh, that's a plus. That's not going over. Let's just whittle that down into being kilobits per second in the old school way. Nice. It's gonna mean they're gonna get rounded. That's all right. That's all right. It's going to end up being a double. It's going to end up needing to be a floating point value at some point. Some string. Those are kilobits per second. We are now sending 10 megs per second. That's about right. Let's see what OSB says. We're sending 10,181 kilobits per second. Right here it says we're sending 13,498. This is over the whole interface though, not just what OBS is sending. So that includes IP overhead, Ethernet overhead, talking to the router. That's total bytes on the interface. I do believe. No, that might be IP. Doesn't matter. We're going to get into that. That's good. So then coming up with whatever percentage that is of the total bandwidth will be quite the thing. I think I'm just going to have it where the user types in. I had one a long time ago. The way it worked was the user types in what the maximum is in order to create the chart. So I'll type in just what the maximum is and come up with the percentage. What is the percentage? What is the maximum? Well, it's a little different than it is normally. I'll find out. I'll get back to you. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We know you have a choice of stupid things to watch, especially... Oh, this is the Karenware channel. This is something serious. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to try to have office hours on a particular schedule. Around the clock, some, because we have fans from Australia and South Africa. Thanks a lot. And if you see me on the internets, be sure to wave and say hi.